Oh mate, look at this. 3 foot long, total scale replica of the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. Holy mama, just look at that bad boy, that bad girl, I suppose. Not that I've been looking under dinosaur skirts or anything. Oh hey, this completely suspect site with shipping from China is selling it at £25 a piece. Seriously, this could be the greatest Dreadsaurian proxy for my Lizardman army, and it's 25 quid. Health and Safety Frog, what do you think? Yeah, I know that, but people know you as Health and Safety Frog though. Okay, bugger it. Yeah, cool, I don't need encouragement to buy toys, let's go. And... ordered. Okay, cool. Now we just have to wait 9 weeks. Oh, what the fuck? Not only are these not as advertised, they're just completely illegal copies of the Papo Toys T-Rex, which is actually cheaper to buy the original. Aha, very funny, at least we know you can spell that word. Well, at least I can still make an Aztec-themed mountain out of a legal molehill, so to speak. Fucking dicks. So yeah, for total transparency, I absolutely knew that I was getting scammed. And while it's disappointing, it's certainly not the end of the world. I've also got an assortment of collected 3D printed parts from various designers to spice these things up. So ultimately, I'm in the same situation I would be if I'd bought an official Carnosaur and an official Troglodon. Both essentially are in the same pose, but at least with this, I can actually do something about it. I'm going to start with reposing the tail, and ultimately I will put a Troglodon split tail end on there. Now I'm going to repose the leg of the model so I've got some movement to it, because who needs 2 points of base contact with a really heavy model when you cannot have 2 points of base contact with a really heavy model? And forever I'm going to be breaking the model off the base, but you know, who cares? If you look at the way that Rexy in Jurassic Park or The Lost World walks, you can see that it tucks its toes back as it lifts its leg, and we're going to try and replicate that here if we can. Also, while we're on the subject, Jurassic Park franchise. What is your second and third favourite films in the franchise? Let me know in the comments. Make a case for JP3 if you can. Probably gathered by now that Superglue and Superglue Accelerant are my absolute friends here, and so will be the Milliput. I prefer to use Milliput over that green stuff garbage because this stuff is way more malleable and pleasant to work with, easier to texture, and water down to a smooth paste for, well, smoothing. Now, I'm not a sculptor. If a basic level of sculpting would equivalent you to a human being, then I would class myself as like base amino protein stewing in a thermal vent and getting all my little deliveries to the door. Absolutely, that's me. But that doesn't mean that I or anyone else can't do things like this. We're essentially plugging gaps, smoothing joints, flush, and texturing it. That's kind of it. No special tools, just fingers, pencils, and, well, having a second model to bash the texture into the clay really does help. A little bit of liquid green stuff over some troubled areas. I do like liquid green stuff. And the liquid green will contract and shrink when it dries. El Rey over here is going to get himself some hideous bling. In keeping with my Making Seraphon Great Again series philosophy, lizard men have no taste. They're fabulous, but they have no fucking taste. And why would they? All their war beasts are essentially carnivorous Mardi Gras parade float lizard monsters, and the people driving or controlling them are also carnivorous lizard monsters. So where's the quality control here? If you're familiar with this Making Seraphon Great Again series, you'll know this trick. Basic cotton wrapped around spikes and armaments means you're freeing yourself from difficult sculpting or finding the perfect parts that fit. It's not too tricky, but it is absolutely tedious. So I just bob on a bit of wrestling bios and I just get on with my knitting. And like say, if you're an MS painter like me, it's not the easiest thing to do, but it saves so much faff with the alternatives. Here's where we're at, and they do look like a plasterer's radio, or theme park statues that have been shat on by pigeons for 20 years, or pretty much how my brand new jeans look 10 minutes into a terrain making video. But as John Lennon once said, Yoko, don't chat shit about my kit bashes until I've hit it with a primer. So let's see how they fare with a coat of paint. And John Lennon was absolutely right, these guys look like they're gonna scrub up just fine. El Rey is rocking the Rey Mysterio feathers, and El Venimo is rocking the Pat Butcher earrings. What a combo to take to the battlefield. Rey Mysterio and Pat Butcher. What a tag team. Now before you run to your wardrobe to get your big boy pants out, I'm airbrushing El Rey, but I'm gonna paint El Venimo Jr. with a brush and standard acrylics. So skip ahead if you're whatever the airbrush equivalent of those people who can't handle mothers breastfeeding in public are. But let me tell you, contrast paint doesn't unlock its final form until you pump it through an airbrush. For creatures like this, it is magic. Effortless skin tones and gradients in seconds. Back once again with the talent in the bottle, Army Painter's Soft Tone, and even Soft Tone is a little bit too aggro for this palette. We're going to be watering that down in certain areas on the model as we go. In honor of our friends in the current Jurassic World color grading team, I'm making these feathers orange and teal-ish. It's a nice two complementary color scheme that I really rely on. As if I haven't shilled this enough already, but check out the dry box video I made. It allows me to test the consistency of the paint on my brush in a realistic environment before I apply it to the model. I can control just how much or little paint I apply without mistakes. Nasty stuff time. With Vallejo liquid gold, one layer, one wash, you're done. But I should at least now take the opportunity to talk a little health and safety with you guys, since this paint is completely lethal. Hector says, if you don't know what's in it, wear a mask. Seemingly safe insulation foam for modeling can contain fiberglass. Family-friendly acrylic paints, when airbrushed, can still contain nasty metal particulates. Resin miniatures, especially from Russia or China, not that anyone here would have any experience in that, can contain really nasty chemicals that when cut or heated, by filing the mold lines off, can do you in big time. And be aware that spraying anything pretty much guarantees inhalation. If it's in the air, congratulations, now it's in you. Thanks Health and Safety Frog for keeping our hobby lives safer. Okay, so I promised I'd do the other dinosaur, Pat Butcher over here, without the aid of an airbrush, and so I shall. This technique is called stippling. The way I like to do it is to pretty much hammer on various colours as a base coat and then work those colours together while the paint is still wet. Apply more as needed, and I usually keep my paints neat and undiluted. For living creatures like this, that can also add a little bit of texture, which I do like. Keep stippling and working in different colours to introduce new gradients as you feel. I'm going from dark underbelly to almost, well, blue-grey towards the top. If in doubt, dab a good amount of paint off onto a paper towel before attempting to blend. I'm adding a grey stripe down his body to emulate what I've seen some cool looking geckos rocking. Geckos also have no sense of taste, but they are fabulous. heavy diluted contrast paint or ink is going to tie this all together nicely. I would say the blends were already pretty subtle, but now they're going to be super blended. My all-purpose bone and teeth recipe is Rakarth Flesh, which is a nice cool creamy bone colour. Then drenched in Reikland Flesh Shade to introduce a reddy, placky, bloody tone to them, and followed up with a light cream for a highlight. I want that, pardon the term, throat sack, where the Troglodon's poison spit might be stored, to look a little bit more toxic and unpleasant. In the animal kingdom, it's not uncommon to see animals that are chemically dangerous to have some kind of obnoxious colour scheme going on. So I'm going to go with purple and pink, and it also does just look a little bit gross. So, I got these done over 2 days and did their little mates in the evening, mostly because I didn't want to get cheap heat for not having the corresponding leader unit like their official counterparts do, so I flashed up the bases and added these guys. Lost Kingdom miniatures do make some awesome sculpts, and it really adds a little bit of chip spice to these bases. Speaking of bases, my follow-up video for this is going to be how to make awesome deep jungle bases, like the one seen here, which only really take a couple of hours to do. So cheers, thank you for watching, check out my Patreon links, check out the links in the video, and I'll see you next time. I'm out of here.